Protecting P2 assets. Whatever your workflow, Avid strongly recommends protecting your original P2 assets prior to post-production. You can copy media onto your local or Unity storage system using the consolidate function inside Media Composer, or you can back it up manually. First, let's look at consolidating within Media Composer. Consolidating footage within Media Composer is the safest and simplest method. It takes about the same amount of time as a manual operating system file transfer, but has the advantage of incorporating a fail-safe checksum comparison between source and copy. This gives you the confidence to move on quickly with your project without having to worry about file count or the number of bytes transferred successfully. Now, having already accessed the P2 material and brought those clips into a bin, next select the clips you want to work with and go to the main File menu. Select Import P2 and choose Media. The media will be automatically consolidated using the settings defined in the Media Creation tool within Media Composer. Now, if you prefer more control over the consolidation process, for example, you may want to choose the location for the media each time you perform the operation, then you can use the manual consolidate function. Again, having already accessed the P2 material and brought those clips into a bin, next select the clips you want to work with, go to the main Clip menu, select Consolidate Transcode. At the Consolidate Transcode dialog, choose Consolidate. Choose the drive, Unity, or network location to which you wish to consolidate the media. Make sure the master clips are relinked to the media on the new drive. The media will now be consolidated as per the custom settings specified. Once the consolidation process is complete, be sure to eject or disconnect the device or path to the original P2 media so that you can continue editing the consolidated copy of that media. Having both the original media and the consolidated copy of that media online at the same time can cause problems and confusions, both for the operators and for the software. Okay, now let's look at backing up the footage manually. So if you're in the field, you can use a Mac or a PC laptop to copy the contents of P2 cards to a USB or FireWire disk, or even burn the material onto a data DVD so that you can reuse the P2 cards immediately. If you're back at an editing facility or at the lab, then you can use a Mac or a PC to copy the contents of the P2 cards to an archival device such as a DLT or a mirrored or RAID protected stripe set. Whichever manual backup method you choose, be sure to back up all of the media exactly as it is presented on the P2 cards. The directory structure should remain intact with all files present and in the directories created by the camera. You should also make a comparison between each P2 card and its backup prior to erasing and reusing the card in the field. It is very important to ensure that the correct number of folders, files and bytes have been successfully duplicated. Outputting and delivering P2 media from Avid Media Composer. Once you've finished editing, you have several choices for outputting your final product. Now, when you're delivering a sequence containing P2 DVC Pro 100 media, you can write back to a P2 card, you can export to a DVC Pro HD VTR over FireWire, and you can export as an alternative file type for web, DVD, or multimedia production. Now, you can also deliver from a timeline where you've transcoded the media to either uncompressed HD or Avid's DNX HD codec. From this type of timeline, you can output your work via HD SDI to a VTR such as Panasonic's D5 or Sony's HD Cam. You can output your work direct to air for immediate playback, and you can output your work via SDI component or composite to an SD VTR such as Panasonic's DVC Pro or Sony's digital Betacam. Please do note though that certain HD frame rates and formats will not translate into SD. So, to deliver your completed P2 sequence back to a P2 card, select the sequence you wish to write back. Go to the main output menu, select Export to Device, choose P2. The write-back will now take place over FireWire, USB or direct to a PCM CIA slot-mounted card. Make sure the P2 device is correctly installed and recognised by the operating system before launching Media Composer. Important to note here that due to the capabilities of the current Panasonic card writing hardware, this process will only work with non-native Panasonic frame rates. Okay, to deliver your finished P2 sequence to a DVC Pro HD VTR over FireWire, first ensure that the video quality is set to full green mode. Next, select the sequence you want to output, go to the main output menu, select Digital Cut. Be sure the DVC Pro HD VTR is correctly installed under the operating system and recognized by the Media Composer. Important to note also here that the capabilities of the current Panasonic VTRs means that this process will only work with non-native Panasonic frame rates. Okay, to export your finished sequence as a file type appropriate for web, DVD or multimedia distribution, select the sequence that you want to output, go to the main file menu, or use the right click on either a Mac or a PC, and from here you can easily use the send to command to deliver a variety of different formats appropriate for DVD, Digi Delivery and Pro Tools. Or you can select Export and then use the Export Settings quick drop-down menu or the Options panel in order to select the format and other parameters for your desired export. Alternatively, you can actually use Media Composer to create a QuickTime reference movie for rapid access to applications such as Sorensen Squeeze, where many other file types are available for creation. Now, if you also want to output your work to tape via HD SDI to a VTR such as a D5 or HD cam, you will first need to transcode the sequence to Avid's DNx HD format, a mastering quality HD codec. You will also need to have Avid Adrenaline hardware connected to your Mac or PC, as this is the device required to provide real-time output to your chosen VTR. To deliver your finished P2 sequence on tape via HD SDI, first ensure that the video quality is set to full green mode. Next, select the sequence you wish to output, go to the main clip menu, select Consolidate Transcode. You'll be presented with the Consolidate Transcode dialog. Choose transcode, choose video and audio on the same drives, choose the drive, unity or network location on which you wish to store the newly created DNx HD media. Next, choose the DNx HD resolution you wish to use. The DNx HD media will now be created according to the settings you just specified. You can also create uncompressed HD media at either 8-bit or 10-bit if you were going to finish the project on an Avid Symphony Nitrous or an Avid DS Nitrous. For more in-depth information about working with uncompressed and DNx HD media, please consult your Media Composer product documentation. When the transcode procedure is complete and with the newly created sequence selected, go to the main output menu. Select Digital Cut. The output will now take place over baseband HD SDI. Make sure the HD VTR is correctly installed and available in Media Composer beforehand. Now, the process for delivering an SD master over SDI component or composite is very similar to the procedure just described for HD SDI, but it will be highly dependent on the acquisition frame rate and format you chose at the shooting stage. So if the frame rate and format you are using do indeed have an SD counterpart, then you will first need to use the Format tab within the Media Composer project window in order to select the SD format of the project. From there you will transcode and output as described previously.